Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tailgate Talk. We're your hosts, David and Nick. Nick, side of the people.
Howdy.
So crazy weekend, lots of sports. For the Clemson fans, it's the last couple of days have been pretty good. But one of the things that right before the Jags decided to make their miracle comeback, the thing that put everyone in a good mood going into the weekend was the Clemson Tigers coming out on top against Duke at home at Little John. Nick, you were actually at the game. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that? How was it being there to see that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think I said going into it, it was the biggest basketball game that at least since I've been on campus. It was a lot of fun. Duke's always a great team, and they brought a lot of people with them. But as opposed to last year when it was Coach K's kind of farewell tour, and there were a decent, they were like, "Let's go Duke" chants. It was all Clemson pretty much. There was a little bit when they went on that run in the first half when they opened up like that 8-point lead. But other than that, like it was all Clemson, and the students were into it, the fans were into it. Did a little checkerboard stripes, which was cool. I got a white shirt. Um, Overall, just a fun atmosphere, and hopefully we can keep it going. And Clemson's now ranked for the first time in 2 years, so it's nice to see.
So paint me a picture here, Nick. It felt like watching it at home that the crowd was into it. Just give me some details on that. What was it like being there in person?
Yeah, I mean, going into the game, you could tell everyone was ready for it. People were starting to heckle the Duke fans before we even got in the stadium. And then, Clemson jumped out to that lead and crowd started getting really into it. And then, like I said, that Duke run came late in the first half and everyone was, I know I was like, oh no, like, don't let it get away from him. But second half came, crowd was into it. I think it helped that right before halftime there was that foul call on the 3-point shot. That got everybody a little fired up. It didn't look like a foul at all. But then Clemson was able to come out of the break inspired and really came out firing. And that's when they decided to bring out Garrett Riley and introduce him. And that just brought a whole other shockwave into the crowd. And everybody was just up and ready to go. And I think I sat down maybe twice in the second half, and it was a good time.
So give me like a one or two words, sum it up. What was it like being there?
Electric. It was just
Electric.
it was awesome. It reminded me of why I like college basketball so much. It was fun.
I was looking at it. I was watching. You sent a picture ahead of time of the line out the door of the students waiting, telling us at some point they just started telling people after a certain point they had 0% chance of getting in. I mean that feels like that's it was Saturday, felt like a normal Saturday college game day type atmosphere in the fall for how things have been going for the Tigers.
Yeah, I actually showed up and I got in the wrong line. I thought because I didn't go the student route because I had to work that morning, so I knew for a fact I was not going to get in the student section. But I when I first got there, so obviously I had my ticket, but I got in the student line unknowingly, and the guy came around and was like, "Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be honest. There's 0% chance of getting in, so you can just go home." But no one really went home. I know I then found where to go with my ticket, but the line stayed that long. People were just ready to go in and have a good time against a team that is normally the top of the ACC and who nobody really likes outside of Durham. And it was fun to give one back to them. They always have the upper hand. It seems like in basketball, so it's nice to get them. Now I know how other teams feel like against us in football. So
So tell me about the runs, was Duke able to get the crowd out of it like at all
So like
during
a
that
little
run?
bit in that first half when they went up, I think it was like 30-22 or something right before Clemson went on a run of their own. Like that's kind of when I know for I started thinking, oh crap, just because it's Duke and they always have 5-star freshmen that are 7 feet, 7 feet three. It seems like. And there were some moments where Duke would get an offensive board and then put it back in, or they'd get a three, and it feel like it was kind of getting away from Clemson. But honestly, they did a very good job of weathering any run Duke had and just staying there the whole game. And then oddly enough, pulling away at the end of the game, and because they were up by double digits with under a minute to go, and it was just that was the best part was that it wasn't like on a buzzer beater. It was by
Yeah.
multiple possessions, and it felt good to win that way.
Yeah, I mean Duke had a couple of runs. I think they got up to an 8 point lead twice. Once in the first half, I think once in the second half too. And credit to Clemson getting in there and making tough defensive stands, forcing turnovers, getting rebounds when they absolutely needed to, and making some clutch baskets. But I mean, it was a tough game. I felt like it was very physical watching it from at home. Is that the same kind of feel you got there too?
Yeah, it felt like both teams were playing very hard defensively. Shout out Ian Shefflin. He had a great game defensively. Excuse me. It honestly felt like two evenly matched teams, which is kind of crazy to say that Clemson's evenly matched with Duke, but it felt that way. Um, yeah, it was very physical, a lot of tough defense, a lot of tough rebounding, but it was good to see both teams doing that.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that too. It's kind of like a heavyweight slugfest. You've got Duke making clutch offensive rebounds to try and keep that lead at times, and Clemson just kind of hanging around there. I mean, neither team shot well from the 3 point line at all. Each team only made three, although the 3 pointers that Duke was making in that first half, I think it was Proctor. Man, those felt for me that felt like that was just backbreaking at times because that was when they started making that first run to get to eight. I'm like, oh my God, if they start going off with him, who's not, I don't think he's typically their high volume 3 point shooter, but when that started going down, it's like, oh no, we're not hitting threes tonight. That it's going to be real hard to claw our way back in.
It is important to know that Jeremy Roach wasn't playing for Duke, and I think that's their go-to guy. But I think Clemson's built their team so far on 3 point shooting, which oddly enough they did not have, like you just said, defense, and just that. I mean, it's their motto: grit. They love to fight. They love to play hard, play physical, and do the best that they. Because I think it's obvious that Clemson's not the most talented team in the ACC, but I tell you what, I don't think that any team's going to outwork them. They're gonna in every game they're going to be going hard.
Yeah, that team's seasoned. I mean, it's a very old team. They've got that buy-in. I think, it's kind of what we had talked about at one point a little earlier about, the one and done rule, kind of talking about like the transfer portal for football, but feels like, we're getting back into seasoned teams, older teams can start to have that edge when it comes to, staying in games and making those runs late.
I mean, look, the guy who's been on fire for us, Hunter Tyson, he didn't play up to what I think everybody was expecting. I think credit to Duke for coming up with a game plan to shut him down, but he didn't carry this team that on Saturday. It was PJ Hall and Brevin Galloway. So it's good to see that it's not just Hunter Tyson that can be that go to. Oh, and Chase Hunter didn't have the best of games, but he made contributions elsewhere. So it's nice when Hunter and Tyson aren't scoring to have PJ Hall getting healthy, to have Brevin Galloway as a graduate transfer, even Shiflin coming up with some big buckets. Ben Middlebrooks, I think, had a very good game offensively. It's good to get other guys involved because that's what's going to be important come tournament time.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think Hunter Tyson had a point in the first half. I think he shot what twice in
About
the
that, and
first
one of them was
half.
a very deep three, just I think to get him a shot.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that was Duke's defensive plan was let's make sure that we stay tight on Hunter Tyson and force someone else to beat us. I mean, Hunter ended up with 7 points total. He only shot the ball 6 times. I mean, that just it feels like Duke focused on keeping him out of the game. But the thing
Yeah.
is, they had no answer for PJ Hall. PJ Hall, time and again, was just going to work and proving, hey, I'm the best guy on the floor tonight, and just going to work.
This was his best game since his injury, in my opinion. PJ Hall just played out of his
He
mind. So it
26
was
points in 26 minutes.
that's
He
not
only
bad.
played 26 minutes. You've got, Hunter Tyson playing 37 with 7 points. The next lowest guy when it came to like um time on the floor for the starters was Chase Hunter. I mean, everyone else is playing 30 plus minutes that's starting except for PJ Hall, and PJ Hall is going to work.
Yeah. It was nice to get an all around effort from the team, and it proved that I think that they can be. This isn't just a fluke. Like this is their mo. This is what they're gonna do.
Mhm. It was a great game. I think it's the only game that Clemson plays Duke this year. I don't think they play him again, but Clemson's in a very good spot right now. They are 2 games, well, one and a half clear of Miami right now because Miami's played one extra game than them, but they have 2 losses. So Clemson's essentially 2 games ahead of Miami, and everyone else in the ACC right now from conference play. So they're putting themselves in a really good spot when it comes to the ACC tournament.
And despite all that, Wake is a 2.5 point favorite on tomorrow.
Love it, love it. 9 o'clock late night game, ACC NX. We'll not get to watch that because we don't have that in our package, I think. So I'll be on my phone watching the game cast, trying to keep up with it. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time for Clemson basketball. Um,
That's
you gotta feel
it's
good from Coach Brownell. He's had a lot of criticism with just, not advancing this program further. And this year it feels like it's he's got a really good team and they're finally making, those clutch plays. They're making free throws, they're making, you know, clutch baskets. They've got that mental strength that I think that comes with getting a more seasoned team, and it's just helping them out a lot.
yeah, it and especially with all the noise that Brownell heard in the offseason, and it seems like every year people are calling for his job. It's good to get it. It's good for him to get a good season to kind of say like, hey, like I can do it. So it's not like your faith isn't misplaced. So
Yep. So very excited to see what Clemson basketball does for the next is it what they have a month and a half left of the season, or is it a little
so
more than
they
that
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 more regular season games.
total?
Yes. So last game is against Notre Dame on March 4th.
So I mean they're making good progress. Keep it up and you should have yourself in a very favorable position, which I think Clemson fans are just not used to when it comes to like the ACC tournament. We're used to playing
Right.
on that first day of the tournament, having to go through that whole gauntlet. If they're able to get the top seed, I think that's unheard of territory for this team.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, I'm looking at their schedule. I guarantee you, everybody wants that second game of the season back against South Carolina because if they played today, I don't think it'd be close.
Yeah,
It's,
it's unheard of the this type of season for Clemson.
well, if you
Definitely,
want, if
and
you're
you think about like what is it? The Fighting Sister Jeans as well. They dropped that game. I mean, the 3 games that they've dropped have been not good losses. And I'm sure this team's looking at like kicking themselves from those couple of games that early in the season that they just found a way to lose those games.
South Carolina, Loyola, Chicago, and Iowa. So, but still, 15 wins is amazing, and first place feels so great. Hopefully, they can keep it going.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's all we've got for tonight. Thank you all for joining in. As always, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.